Hey, it's Scott Lips. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of Spin Magazine's Lip Service. On today's show, the one, the only, Mr. Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. Norman's been a friend for many, many years. In fact, I think this is his second time on the show. I've been running around the streets of New York with him for the better part of 20 years. We get into everything from his new spin-off series that's doing quite well, Daryl Dixon, to his days living in New York and his 5 favorite restaurants. So much more. At the time of doing this, we couldn't really do video because of the strike and everything going on with the actors at that moment. I think you're going to enjoy this. I wanted to bring it to you regardless. I hope you do enjoy it. Now, without further ado, Mr. Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. Hey, it's Scott. Welcome back to Spin Magazine's Lip Service. I'm with Norman Reedus. How are you, my brother?
Oh, I'm tired.
Tired is good, right?
Good, I'm good, yeah.
You've been all over the world. You were just in Paris for YSL.
Yeah, I just, Diane's out of town. She's been out of town for, it's going to be like almost 3 weeks, I think. So I've just been on Nova duty. And I flew to Paris for literally 2 days and flew right back. But today, I had to go pick her up from school because she was crying, and I think she was totally fucking faking. But she said, my throat hurts now. And I'm like, you were so fine like an hour ago. And she's like, yeah, but now my throat hurts. And so now she's learned how to get me to come pick her up from school. So this might be an ongoing thing. But
my throat doesn't hurt, by the way. So I think
right. Yeah, I don't think hers does either. Yeah.
I was thinking the other day because we had lunch. It was actually a pretty fun lunch. We had like Christian Bale came over. I feel like a lot of actors know each other, and he was awesome. So it was a cool little moment in life. But we've known each other for like 10 or 15 years, I think, right? Maybe longer.
Yeah, it seems like forever. I'd never met Christian Bale before, but I have a place in Costa Rica. In Nosara, and I see him out there every once in a while, and I don't mess with him, and he's, it's family time, and but I haven't bumped into him. I've kind of seen him down a dirt road every once in a while, but he came up and he said, we talked about Costa Rica, but that was, the thing about him, he's so real, that dude. I was so impressed that he was as cool as I thought he was going to be, but no pretense, no. He's fucking Batman. He's like an amazing actor, but just normal, like just real. And
I have to confess, I thought he was American. American Psycho and all these movies. I never knew he was. Is he British or Irish?
He's British, yeah. But I was thinking later. I was like, he's so real in all his performances because he's so real. I'm a huge fan of his, but.
There's a camaraderie, by the way, with actors too, right?
Sometimes,
sometimes
not.
Or is it not?
No, I remember the very first film I ever did. There was an actor who's kind of a famous guy, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, camera left, camera. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. And in the movie, I have to like break down and try to kill myself and fucking win and all that. It's just before I'm about to like commit suicide and I just lose it. And I didn't know what I was doing. But the actor that I'm talking about, we do his stuff and then they turn around on me, and literally while I'm breaking down and having this emotional breakdown, he's looking over his shoulder going, can I get a cappuccino? And I'm like, oh, is that how this works? Like, I didn't know. I didn't even know he was being a dick. I just, I was so confused. I was like, oh, okay, that's how they do it.
But normally I feel, because I know on The Walking Dead, you guys are all friends, and it was really like a family vibe. I mean, I know that you're friends with some of these guys for many, like 15 years now, 11, 12, 13, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, I talk to Bernthal all the time. I talked to Steven the other night.
I feel like I went out with you with Steven. Steven and you used to hang out a bunch in New York and stuff.
Well, we went to Nurse Spot on Kenmare. Remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Whatever, Kenmare, whatever.
Yeah.
And it looks sort of like a penguin cage at the zoo.
I remember.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, that was a crazy night. And Bernthal tried to beat up the bouncer. Like it was it was bananas. But yeah, I talk to all those guys all the time. And that original crew on that show, we all played it as real as we can, because there's zombies and there's samurai swords and all this stuff that if you played it a little tongue in cheek, it would easily slide off the mountain into Cornyville.
Yeah.
So everybody, like, if you had a big day, we'd leave you alone. We'd let you have your space. Like, everyone respected each other so much, and they were like, each other's cheerleaders on that show. We all loved being there, and I think it really showed, and especially in those first couple of seasons of that show.
And we're going to get into the new show too, but do you find the same camaraderie with this new show? Are you already because it's filmed in France? We'll get into it. It's a great show, by the way. I'm all caught up.
Oh, you
I saw
are?
the episode last night.
It's fucking good, right?
It's fucking good. There's a lot to talk about. But I was going to ask you, at some point, most people seem pretty respectful when they come up to you to take photos. It happened. I've been out with you at like concerts. I feel like I was with Mick Jagger or something. There'd be like 300 people mobbing you. Maybe it was like Motley Crue or the Peppers years ago in Jersey.
Yeah.
And there was like a mob of at least 100 people that came around you. Are people pretty respectful at this point with you with photos and coming up to you? Because even when we had lunch, people were coming up to you left and right.
Yeah, it's different with TV, I think, because
people think they know you. Right?
Yeah, because you're in their living room every week and I've been doing it for like 15 years. So everybody thinks they know me,
right.
And it's
they're
not
like your friend or something.
It's not like a Christian, it's not like I was going to say Keanu actually, because, he did a Ride episode with me and like when people see me, they want to hug me and they want to bro and, and they would see me and they'd freak out and then they'd look over and they'd see Keanu and he'd be like, is that real? Is that really Keanu? You know what I mean? It was a different sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's because and I have to look a certain way. My hair's long. You can kind of spot me even with a motorcycle helmet on. So it's
no one thinks you're not who you are when they see you.
Yeah. They may say, I thought you were like taller or something like that. But people think they know you. I think because you're on TV. I was on a plane once with Kiefer Sutherland and the entire cast of Friends, right? And it was when Friends was just starting, and we were flying to Paris actually, and Kiefer and we later did a movie and became friends. But when I got off the plane, there was a crowd of people. I'm like, oh, they must be there for Friends, but they were there for Kiefer because he's been on so many things for so long. And now I'm sure it's the opposite. I'm sure it's Friends, I know it was Friends crazy, but I think it's the TV thing. I think that's why people come up.
Yeah, in 15 years, there's no one that doesn't know your face. So it was kind of interesting being out with you. Even now, people are always like, can I take a picture? But they seem pretty respectful, I would imagine, right? Does anybody ever cross the line or
totally.
they're like, Norman, can you sign my left rib or something?
I was at JFK in the airport off of a plane, and I'm in the bathroom peeing, right?
Which is always a weird time for anyone to come up to you.
But the bathroom was packed, right? And I'm sitting there peeing, and this guy's like pulling on my shoulder. Like, can I take a picture? And I'm like, bro, like, look at me, right? And he was like, yeah, can I take a picture? And I'm like, he wouldn't leave me alone, so I grabbed his camera, his phone, and I threw it in the sink.
Oh my God.
And he goes, he takes it out of the sink, and he goes, fine, I'll wait for you outside. And then the whole bathroom just erupted in laughter. And I was like, fuck, yeah, right? But sometimes people are weird.
It's called reading the room.
Yeah, I was like, but I don't use urinals in public places anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Our show today is brought to you by the fine folks at Sonos. I have to take a moment to talk to you about my favorite speakers on the planet. Sonos, first impressions, open up the box, some of the sleekest speakers I've ever seen in my life. Sonos has hands down been my favorite speaker brand for years, especially as a touring musician myself. I've used all types of speakers throughout my career, and I gotta tell you, Sonos beats them all for sound quality and ease of use. I recently got the Beam soundbar and the extra subwoofer. I plugged it in, it's super easy to use, and I gotta tell you, my room fills up with sound like no one's business. The Beam soundbar is the clearest dialogue and such insane bass, especially when hooked up to my extra subwoofer. My whole room shakes. It literally fills up my bedroom with so much sound. Lately, I've also been using the Arc soundbar for my living room TV. It's super easy to connect to. I was able to seamlessly hook it up. It's sleek and it blends right into my space. The Arc soundbar has really changed the way that I watch TV and movies. I'll have some friends over. I hook it up to the extra subwoofer, and it really helps to create that intense surround sound. The design is immaculate. It looks great below my TV in my living room. My favorite thing about Sonos speakers is how easy they are to use. You can set them up in under 20 minutes or so. The sound is incredible, they look incredible, and they are by far the best gift you can buy for anyone. Head over to Sonos.com to learn more and find gifts for every listener on your list.
Well, it's interesting. You were on the show before. We were just talking about it. It was over Zoom some years ago, and so much has happened. Even like early on, because we're going to talk about your new show, which is fantastic, as I just mentioned. And I'm fully vested. I'm 4 episodes in. I even watched the one last night. So this is real time because it was on 8:00 last night.
Yeah.
But even early on, like your agents, I think, didn't even really. You weren't sure about The Walking Dead early on. Your agents were like, maybe you don't want to do the show. Maybe you want to do the show. What was it when you first got that script 11 years ago? Were you like, this is it? Because I know you were reading for all kinds of cop shows, buddy shows, right?
Yeah.
Cowboy shows, probably. I don't know what was.
I'd never done TV. I was only a movie actor, and then
You go out to LA for pilot season.
And that was the only one that I would watch. Out of the stacks of scripts, it was the only one I'd be like, oh, I'd watch this. But yeah, nobody wanted me to do it. But it was Frank Darabont, and it was AMC, and they had Breaking Bad and Mad Men, and those shows were cool. But I don't think anybody even on the show thought it would turn into what it turned into.
Well, 11 years later, 11 seasons, right? Did you ever think that it would go on did you like the ending? Were you happy the way it ended?
It became such an animal, that show. It was, and back then too, it was like, Sunday night, everyone counted the viewership. It's a different thing now because we have streamers, so it's not really the same sort of set of rules.
Yeah.
But, we'd be like, what were our numbers last night? Monday morning. It's like, what were the numbers? It was,
7 million.
Did we beat Sunday football again? Like, it was such a thing. But, the way that it became like this, I think when you're on a TV show that long, okay, so what's this character like? Why do they love this character? Why do they love this character? And they end up they keep writing the same thing for that character to do because it works. Like, don't change the formula. But I think the actors were like, can I branch out and do other things? And but you become a money machine. There's thousands of Daryl Dixon dolls. And
I don't have one, but because I know you.
I have a closet full, and I keep giving them away. But I think no one's gonna rock the boat too much. So when they asked me about the show, the new one that you're talking about, they said, I didn't pick France, by the way. Everyone thinks I picked France. I'd have picked Costa Rica.
By the way, it looks beautiful. I mean, I kind of want to go to France. I know you were just there and you're going back there soon.
Yeah.
But it looks amazing. I have so many questions. Like, are there parts of France that are just empty like that? Or is that a lot there? Because it looks incredible.
Well, we built the demi-monde. We shot in the catacombs, and then we built the catacombs again, and then shot in the catacombs. We shoot in a place called Mont Saint Michel, which is this castle, this insane castle from
amazing.
Like 200 AD or something, and it's on an island that's surrounded by this water that comes up and goes back down. So you can walk to it at times, and then when the tide comes in, you're like trapped there. And the history of that place is bananas, but. Everything, to shoot in real castles every week and, blow up moats full of zombies and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's mind blowing. And then, and that show too, when they asked me, hey, would you be interested in doing this show in France? I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that. And then, but I need all new writers. So they got rid of the showrunner, they got rid of the writers. And it was because I wanted it to be a fresh start. And, the show, like is a lot of it's in French, so we got French writers. There's certain things in the stories that only French people know. I didn't want to go to France and wear a beret and eat a baguette and be an American show. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it to be their
authentic
show. So I'm just really happy the way that it's turned out. The crew there's great. Their work ethic's a little different than America, where it's like bang, 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 bang,
Well, there's laws in France too. You can't overwork people. They get paid triple, whatever. I mean,
paid vacations, but
you can't fire anyone in France too. By the way, I don't know.
I didn't know that.
You really can't. It's like almost impossible.
Wow.
Which is why I've never opened up an office there, because it would be like, if people are terrible, they're still working there.
Yeah.
So.
But there's also like, we'll shoot a scene and then they'll stop. They'll do one take and they'll stop and they'll roll a cigarette and they'll talk about it. And I'm like, what are we waiting on? What's going on? Right? And then I found out what they were talking about, and they were what they were talking about in that one particular conversation was what story they're telling with the camera movement. And I'm like, you guys just keep talking. Like, take your time. And it shows, I think, in the show. There's an artistry to it that is different than where we left off on the flagship show.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that for a minute. I mean, would you have ended The Walking Dead the way that the way that it ended?
No.
Or was there an alternative ending that you might have had in mind? Like when you read that script, were you like, this is ending the way I think it should end?
Well, the whole idea of the spinoff, Mickey Rourke was telling me about this show that he watched when he was a kid. He's like, all us little delinquents, we all like this one character in this show, and it was the show called Then Came Bronson, and it was about a dude who was on his motorcycle and he was traveling the country, he had no place to go, he was under no time restraints.
Sounds like Ride.
It is, except we have a time restraint. Yeah, we have 4 days to knock that out.
Right.
But he would roll into a gas station and a couple would be arguing and he would sort of get wrapped up in their drama, and then by being who he is, they sort of changed their perspective as he left town. Like, it just had this sort of easy rider-esque kung fu, it's sort of, a man alone on a journey, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it was like season 10. It was the last day of filming, and I'm sitting there with Angela King, and she goes, "How do you see this show ending?" And I go, "Everybody dies. Like, it's epic battle. I'm watching everybody die in slow motion around me, and people are saving each other. This family that sticks up for themselves, there's whatever, they're just saving each other, just this heroic battle." And I turn around and I'm like, "Carol, get on the bike." And we just take off because everybody's dead. Everybody's dying. There's no winning this. And we just take off, and just to see who's left out in the world. Like, let's go. It's a travel show. Let's see what everybody else is doing. Because you can't go back. It's burning to the ground. So let's just, every day it's a new adventure. And she was like, And that sort of morphed into the show that I'm doing in a lot of ways.
I was going to say it's a travel show that becomes Ride. It could have
No,
been
it's different. Ride's just us being
I know.
goofballs, right? But it's there's a story in every town. But I will say, like, if you ride a motorcycle and you go through a town, it's much different than going through a town in a car. You smell the town, you hear the town, you feel the town. In a car, you just have the radio and the AC on, and you're just passing through. But on a bike, you got to stop. You got to stretch your leg. You feel the town a little different. It would have that, but in an apocalypse. And so all these little pockets of stories, you would either help or a lot of the show is, do I fight or do I run? And is this worth it? And these are my 2 feet on the ground. What's worth fighting for? Type of a situation. So it would have that element, and it sort of has that element now. There's I loved all those shows, Billy Jack, Kung Fu, all those shows when I was a kid where it's just this wanderer, Like, I love that,
It's amazing, by the way. I want to get into it for a moment. So let's take it back to the concept of the show, because you end up shipwrecked in France and you run into this like Coventry of like killer nuns, Who would have thought?
Yeah.
After you look for wine, which is important in the beginning.
It was just liquid. I was looking for liquid. I wasn't looking for wine.
It seemed like wine.
Yeah, it was.
But it would have made sense. So
Some of it was just residue, but I was happy to have it.
And by the way, looking like you're wearing Prada. I mean, I don't know who makes those jackets in the show, but more fashionable than even in The Walking Dead, because you did Prada years ago. So you have this like incredible
it wasn't Prada.
I know, but it looked like some like Prada trench coat with like a ascot or something,
No, well, I get burned on the neck, so the nuns wrap that thing around my neck. I was like, how am I going to play Daryl Dixon in a scarf? How's this going to work? And then after a while, I was like, it looks great. I'm like, what? I trust you.
So how did the spinoff come to be? I mean, because there's more than one that's coming out. There's a few others that are coming out.
Yeah, Scott Gimple is show running one with Andrew Lincoln and Denai, Brigham Michonne, those characters, that's set in Philadelphia, I believe. And then there was one before us that with Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohan, which as soon as we wrapped, they started filming that, right? And then we took off to France. So I was in France maybe 6 months before we started filming, and that was almost 2 years ago. And I was just living out there and going, and I'm a producer on this one, so it's I'm doing castings, I'm doing location scouts, scripts from all the stages of the scripts, like all that stuff. So
What's that like being an executive producer?
it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's fucking exhausting. Yeah, but and then I'm super anal about everything. Like, and if I involve myself in that direction, which I've always wanted to do, especially on this show, they gave me a little room to do it a little bit on the flagship show, especially towards the end. But not as far as storyline. Like now I'm in storyline and all of it.
So you help with the creative too?
All of it.
All of it. So are you a fan of like RuPaul's Drag Race? Because I know you had Paloma on the show, which is awesome.
Yeah. I can quote every episode of that show.
Which is your favorite? Do you have a favorite RuPaul episode?
I can tell you my favorite people.
Sure.
I like Trixie Mattel. I like Detox.
Sure.
I like a whole bunch of them. There's none that I don't like. Actually, there might maybe one or two I don't like.
What was it like working with Paloma?
Awesome. She's great. I mean, I kind of geeked out a little bit. It's.
I get excited. I get excited sitting with Daily Roth.
I made that happen, by the way. So I was kind of geeked out right from the beginning.
So it was your concept?
It was my concept in casting.
Yeah.
That whole Demi-Monde thing, that was David Zabel, the showrunner. He came up with that idea that there's a burlesque world. The arts never died in Paris. They still drink wine and appreciate the finer things, and which I love. That's fantastic, and that all happens in the catacombs too.
I was going to say, I'm sure there'll be some fashion shows like with zombies at some point happening.
I remember early on the show, not this one, but the other one. They invited me to Fashion Week. It was like season 4, and I'm like, why the fuck are they inviting me to Fashion Week? I wasn't dating a fashion person back then. And
no, but truth is, people think of you early on as a model, like very early
because I
on.
did the Prada campaign.
Well,
that was
if you look at your Wikipedia, it says Norman Reedus, model, actor.
Fucking any asshole can go on your Wikipedia page and write whatever they want.
You have a little bit of history with fashion.
Well, I did the Prada campaign, but that was a series of actors in that campaign.
Right. John Malkovich, maybe.
Joaquin did it. Willem did it. A Japanese actor did it.
Yeah.
And then I was doing a film called 6 Ways to Sunday with Debbie Airy, and Ellen von Unworth knew our director and came to set and took photos around our set. And then she had dinner with Miuccia Prada, and Miuccia was like, yeah, I'm looking for another actor to be the next actor on this thing. And she goes, oh, I shot this kid today. And then my manager at the time got a call that said, hey, they want you for a Prada campaign. It's between you and Nicolas Cage. And I was like, what's Prada? And they go, oh, they'll give you free clothes and they'll take you to France, coincidentally. And at that time, me and my friends were all sharing a suit. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. But yeah, that's I'm like 5'5" and I'm fat. Like it doesn't work.
Do you ever get desensitized to the idea of death? I mean, in this show, obviously, you're always killing zombies. And when I watch it, I'm almost getting desensitized to death.
All day long. Yeah.
All you do is stab zombies in the eye or the brain with a spear. And do you ever think about dying? I mean, how do you look at dying now after years of just killing zombies?
Well, what happened to me, I'd come back to New York and I'd see a crowd of people in the middle of the fucking sidewalk, with no sidewalk etiquette whatsoever. And there'd be like 6 people, and in my mind, I went under this guy's arm and I stick him in the neck. He'll fall into that guy. Like, how do I clear this path in the fastest way possible?
That's still happening to you right now.
All day long, it happens to me.
I hope it doesn't happen with me when I'm having lunch with you.
No,
how do I stick him in the head with a fork?
I try to get efficient. Yeah, but they gave me the star on the
Walk of Fame.
Yeah,
yeah.
And the day before I went to that, I started to have a panic attack because I was like, oh, it's like a graveyard. Because you're like, dead actress, dead actor, dead actress, And I was like, oh my God, like it's a graveyard. And I started to have a panic attack. I was like, and then I got talked out of it. But I guess I think about death all the time. My daughter's like really into death right now.
Mingus is not into death.
No, but Nova's into death. Like, she started going to, like, my cat died, like, the cat that I've had forever.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And which was like crazy dramatic.
Yeah.
Like,
No, those are like your children in a way too.
Oh my God, that cat was like everything. And but the cat died, and my daughter was like, the cat's dead, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then I gave her a parakeet, like a taxidermy parakeet. She walks around the house like, it's so dead. It's so dead.
my God.
I named it Daddy. And she's like, you know, we went back to Georgia recently. I took a motorcycle from upstate New York to Georgia the night of the premiere of the Daryl Dixon show. I was like, I can't talk about it. And I just, like an asshole, took the bike through 3 flash flood storms, through the Appalachian Mountains, in the dark with no phone signal.
As you would.
It was like the Revenant. It was like the Revenant.
Yeah.
And then it was insane. And I was like, I'll do this. And it was so dumb, but it was fun. But anyway, we get to Georgia. She flew into Georgia, and she's like, where's my dead cat? Let me see my dead cat. I'm like, sweetheart, the dead cat's spread under the tree over there. Let's go look at the cat. And then she started walking in restaurants. She'd see like an older lady, and she'd walk up and go, this lady's going to die before me.
Jesus.
And I'm like, sweetheart, get over here. She's like, it's true. She's going to die
God.
before me. Like,
She's definitely watching the show too much.
and she saw a little piece of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at dailies because I'm
Yeah.
the producer guy now. And she mentions zombies every once in a while. Like, you know, we'll be walking and people will be like, can I get a picture? And she'll be like, which is hysterical to me.
Why do you think people are obsessed with this show, by the way? Because it already has some of the best reviews of any Walking Dead show there is. I mean, the show is already doing incredibly well.
I know why the flagship show was really popular. I know why that was. This show, I think that character really resonated with a lot of people, I think, because he's a no bullshit guy. He never lies. Like, he's as honest as they come. He'll do anything for his friends. He's a really good bullshit detector. He's real. He's true.
I mean, it's very close to how you are if people know you. I have to say, like, I don't
Really?
feel like I can't disassociate.
Fuck you.
No, but I mean, because there's other actors that I know that like they seem so different than their characters, but there's a
There's a lot
connection
of
there.
me.
But there's a lot of you in him.
Yeah, there is a lot. And I've put more of me into him throughout the years,
Yeah.
I think. Maybe as some sort of weird social experiment. But I think people didn't know what to expect. It's France. I hear these people like, oh my God, how do you get to France? What the fuck, how do you get to France? I'm like, you'll find out. Keep watching the show. We'll tell you. Yeah, we know it's a big jump. But and then, there was the first episode, I'd take a bath. They're like, oh my God, thank God he took a bath. Like, those people, like, whatever. I get so much.
Well, the fans are
wah-wah.
obsessive. They're certainly obsessive.
Yeah, but there's different sorts of obsessions.
Yeah. No, they're really obsessed.
I think there's a lot of fans who have become like internet popular
Yeah.
by talking about the show.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so, their handles are all Walking Dead related,
Yeah.
and so-and-so is my, whatever. And it's like, and then some of them just bitch, and I think if they bitch loud enough, people pay attention to them, and they think they're famous. They think I'm the bitchy person. I do what I want. And you're like, whatever, right? And I'm not even on Twitter anymore because it was too much. But there are a lot of people that are obsessed with the show who are cool as well. So I've got to know a lot of them. I've heard from a lot of them. And I think especially when the Twitter thing first happened, I think people were it's like counting numbers on a Sunday night. So the writers would be like, oh, don't listen to Twitter. And then they started listening to Twitter, and they're like, oh my God, we need blue water bottles. If they had more blue water, we have to write blue water bottles in. And I'm like, why is there a blue water bottle today? And they're like, it was on Twitter. People need blue water. And you're like, oh my God, you guys are all drinking the Kool-Aid at the same time. And I'm like, why? And
luckily, they didn't write you off the show. You had so many fans, right?
well, who knows? Who knows why anything happens? And there was a bunch of years where I barely spoke. So, maybe they were saving me. I don't know. So it's who knows why things work out the way they work out and how they happen. But I don't know. Some people are obsessed. Some people know it's a show. Some people insist that I, in real life, go out with this real life actress who doesn't want to go out with me anyway. You know what I mean? Like, and they fight, and they'll give my real girlfriend a bunch of shit because I'm not with this character. It's kind of insane.
It's a strange reality we're in. But I want
Yeah.
to talk about the coolest show ever and the coolest job in the world ever, which is Ride. Because I loved
true.
Anthony Bourdain's show.
Yeah.
And actually, the last episode, there wasn't even motorcycles. I think with Johnny Knoxville, it was like scooters and there was maybe a Vespa.
He doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle.
That's me, because I remember having lunch with you and I was like, hey, Norman, like I would get on the back of your motorcycle. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? The back of my motorcycle. I'm like, I would be the guy that would like die in like a motorcycle crash. So I don't want to risk it.
Well, the show would be teach you how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then it ends with you riding a motorcycle. That would be the better show.
If you ever have space for a neurotic Jew that wants to like make sure he doesn't get killed on a motorcycle,
we won't kill you.
But tell me about that show, because it's so great. We were talking about at lunch the fact that I photographed Keanu Reeves once, and he was on the show recently, which is a great episode. Talk to me about, you were telling me the story, like you called Keanu from like a mountaintop at some point, and you were like, it wasn't meant to be because he couldn't hear me. So tell me about how, because you book that show too? Are you like calling your friends the same way I do this, I guess?
We definitely go through my Rolodex sometimes, but the thing with Keanu is people kept saying, you got to get Keanu on the show. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. He's just so busy. And then...
well, because he's got a motorcycle company too.
Yeah, but he's also like Neo and he's John Wick. Yeah. Like he's got a million things happening. And but I asked him to be on it and he said yes. And I said, okay, I'll call you about it. And I called him from Mount Fuji. And he was like in Czechoslovakia or something. And I was like, can you hear me? He's like, what? I'm like, it's Norman. He's like, hey... I'm like, so when do you think, what? And it just went on forever. And I'm like, I'm just going to hang up. It's not meant to be. And I just hung up. And then we laughed about it later. And then finally, we made it work.
Yeah. And let's talk about, obviously, the Johnny Knoxville episode, which was great. You ate a little tripe, which I would never eat, by the way.
I've eaten so much crap on that show. And for the first half of that show, I was a vegetarian. And I was like... And they would be like, we'd go to like Uruguay and they would be like a meat specialist and it would be purple meat and pink meat and blue meat and all this stuff. And I was like, and I'd look over at Lizzie, our show, and I'd be like, dude, really? And then he's like, it's the best in all of Uruguay and you got to try it. And I'm on camera. I'm like, oh God, And then I'm like, I don't like tripe.
Because it's like the inside of the stomach. It's like meat jelly.
Don't even tell me what it is. It was just gnarly.
I wouldn't eat it, by the way. There's this great moment in the show with you and Johnny where people come up to you to take a picture and they kind of ignore him. And then in the end, they take pictures with him. But he was like, what the fuck? Like Norman gets all the attention, right? You have this great friendship. I feel like years ago, you and I were at the Bowery hanging out with him, maybe with Jacob Dylan. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. I've known him forever. I knew him when he was PJ. And he was dating this girl, Melanie, and I always thought he was in a band. And I'd see him like, oh, how's the band? He's like, dude, I'm not in a band. And that went on for like 3 years. And then
he's like, how's your band?
He'd be like, Norm, I'm not in a band. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. And then I'd see him again, dude, how's the band? Like, he was just stupid. But we did a movie together called Deuces Wild. And he had a small part of the movie. I kind of had a small part of the movie. And he came and he knocks on my trailer and he has these discs of him dressed as like Santa Claus getting in a colonic and like getting shot in the stomach and doing all these crazy things. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to sell them. And I'm cracking up watching these things. And then I went to Prague to do a movie and I came back through JFK and he was on the cover of Rolling Stone.
I think you've done well.
I think you sold those things. Yeah. He's great. He's a great guy.
He's a lifelong friend. So mostly it's you reaching out to your friends along
Sometimes.
with probably a show booker too.
Well, the thing is like, there's a lot of rock stars and actors who we'll go to and they'll be like, yeah, I'd love to. I got this kind of bike, whatever. And then they'll call me the night before and be like, are we going to ride on the freeway? I'm like, yeah, we're going to do like 800 miles in like 3 days. And he's like, I just kind of rub it with a diaper every weekend. I don't really ride it. And I'm like,
I ride around my driveway. It's great.
Yeah, I just bought it. I made some money, and
I don't really know how to ride.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like real cool musicians too. Yeah. And that happens to me a lot. And then you go through your Rolodex, and then you kind of want to meet new people as well. So it's nice when you reach out to people I don't know. So they both were.
Well, let's talk about your Rolodex because you are friends with so many bands. In the end of the day, this is a music podcast, right? So you're friends with Slash.
Yeah.
You guys have this great friendship. Manson, you have a ton of friends in the business. But are you still collecting punk rock 45s?
Yeah.
Are there any like bands that you're really into now? Because music's a big part of your life.
Yeah, I'm really into Idols right now. I know
Great band, by the
everybody's
way.
into Idols.
I think, who turned me on to Idols was Ian Asbury, who's a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
Ian loves you, by the way.
He's the
He was
best.
on the show not long ago, and he never does stuff, so he was like, yeah, I'm down. But he loves you. We always talk about you, but he was the one that initially turned me on to Idols.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of bands through the show. Like Rob Halford's a friend of mine. I talked to Les Claypool yesterday. I met Grimes doing a video game called Death Stranding.
Oh, that's cool.
I know a lot of musicians, I guess. Yeah.
You have any crazy stories about crazy nights out with some of the rock star friends of yours? I mean, I know you have a million stories. I've been out with you a bunch. But
I made this weird art film a long time ago called The Rub. And it was something I directed and I edited it. And a friend of mine made me a Richard Nixon mask. And Richard Nixon, he picks up a prostitute at the same time as this sort of like monster guy is like humiliated at a bar and he's walking home through an alley, and then Richard Nixon picks up a prostitute and fucks her and then kills her, and then the monster guy finds her dead body and falls in love and basically fucks her back to life. It was like this super weird movie I made, and I used to have this thing called Collective Hardware here.
I remember. It's like on Bowery and
Bowery
something.
and
And that was a
Kenmare.
big part of
Yeah.
it. You were like living there even for a while, I think.
I wasn't living there. I was living in Chinatown around the corner.
Yeah.
But it was like a fully functioning sort of battle station, Warhol factory type of a place.
Yeah, I
So
remember.
all the people that did all the acts at the box would all perfect their acts there. But the ground floor was a gallery, and then above it was all these different stations. It was like a 4-story building. And, like Ronnie Catrone was in there, Warhol painter, Paul Savigny had a place, Eric Foss had a place. And then the ground floor, beneath the ground floor in the basement, was a creature effect shop called Ill Willed. And they would, you'd be like, hey, can you make me a Richard Nixon mask? Hey, can you grab your camera? I got this idea for a thing. And we just make weird things, and then we put them all together and sell them on the ground floor to pay the rent. But we made all these crazy things. But anyway, this film that I made, I ended up making 3 really weird short films. I had to take them to Berlin and show them at the thing and explain them, and they all looked at me like I was insane.
Was the Richard Nixon one part of this? Or?
Yeah, it was called The Rub. And then there was another one where Miles Davis meets himself. No, I'm sorry, he has a nervous breakdown within a nervous breakdown. And then there's a comedian that talks to fruit, like all this weird shit. But The Rub, Axl, you asked me about a rock star and a weird thing. Axl saw that. He saw The Rub, right?
Is it on YouTube or is it?
He saw he was dating this girl named Diane, and Diane was a friend of mine, and
I know Diane. Yes.
you know Diane.
Yeah.
She used to go with Michael H.
Yes, I know
Right.
Diane. Yes.
So Diane's dating Axl, and she shows him the thing, I think, or maybe it was at my apartment. I can't remember. And I fly to LA, and I pull up at this place, and Axl's there with who's the tall guy, the singer,
Sebastian Bach.
Sebastian
Yes.
Bach, right? And he comes out and Axl goes, Norman, how are you? He goes, Sebastian, this is Norman. He's the weirdest motherfucker in all of New York. And you just saw The Rub, right? And then Sebastian leans down because he's like 9 feet tall, and he's down. And he goes, "Wah!" And I was like, "Ah!" Just like weird shit like that. Rob Halford, he actually, when I met him, he was a big Walking Dead fan. He saw the episode where I ripped my winged vest off, which is why I was talking about the fashion show that they brought me to, because I was sitting there and all the dresses went by with my wings on their back, and I was like, that's why. So anyway, I'm going backwards. Anyway, so Rob Halford saw the thing where I ripped my vest back, and he called his jacket maker and had a long jacket made with tassels with my wings on the back, which I almost started crying. I
that's
was
amazing.
so excited. Yeah.
Crazy. Did you see The Last of Us, by the way? You have any thoughts on that? Because when I watched that, I was like, this is a direct ripoff of The Walking Dead. I don't know the timeline, what came first in terms of the comic books, but definitely feels like it was
very
inspired.
similar.
It was
It's very similar.
definitely inspired by it, for sure. A good show, but definitely not The Walking Dead. You had the New York Times bestseller.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just had a photo show. What else can we I mean, there's a million things you're doing, by the way. You're like the busiest guy I know.
Yeah.
Besides having 2 TV shows, you got 15 other projects, a whiskey.
I got a whiskey coming out. Called Big Bald Head. Everything's Big Bald Head.
Everything. I don't even know where that came from. By the way,
My mom took me to a concert when I was little in San Francisco of Laurie Anderson. And so Laurie Anderson used to be married to Lou Reed. She's
Right.
a big artist here in New York. But there's a song called Sharky's Day. And I was like really little. My feet didn't really touch the ground. And she comes out in the dark with this glow-in-the-dark outfit and glow-in-the-dark violin. And she's like, rah, 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 rah. And then her head pops up on the stage, just her head. And she goes, the sun's coming up like a big bald head. And I was like, wow. And so everything's just been Big Bald Head since then. And then I had a photography book that I put out a couple years ago, and I'm with Debbie at a movie, and Lou Reed and Laurie are sitting in front of us, and Lou looks over and he goes, "Hey, Debbie," and then Debbie goes, "Hey, Lou," right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to put out this book of photography, like, and I want to call it "The Sun's Coming Up Like a Big Bald Head," and that's from one of her songs. Do you think I should tell her, or should I not tell her? What do you think? And she's like, Laurie, he wants to do a thing. And she was like, yeah, send me the photos. And if I like them, I'm cool. And then I sent her the photos and she liked them. And so I put it out. But I've just been Big Bald Head ever since.
Yeah, and I remember going to some of your art shows, even downtown. Me and our mutual friend Patrick Hollick, we went to one of the ones you did in downtown LA. But you just did a show in Paris.
Yeah, I'm having another one in November.
Yeah, so tell me about it.
Well, the one in Paris was it was so crowded. The cops had to block off the streets. But this one's bigger. They gave me like a basketball court size thing to fill up. So I've just been panic mode going through hard drives and stuff for the past week.
That's where Instagram comes into play.
I don't want Instagram. And I have to say, like, I even went to Art Freeze. Eric Foss had a booth in there, and I'm sitting there. I was starving. I'm like, my blood sugar was like way low, and somebody brought me over and shoved a croissant in my mouth, and I'm like trying to catch up. And this person sitting next to me, they gave me 2 mini croissants. I'm like, you want a croissant? And this old guy with his wife, and he's like, yeah, I'll take a croissant. So I give him one. He's like, you know what booth you should go to is there's somebody who does exact replicas of Warhol paintings and Basquiat paintings, and he just tweaks them just a tiny bit. And I'm like, I fucking hate that. And he's like, no, it looks great. They look just like him. I'm like, that's the same thing as like somebody on Instagram putting a blue filter over someone else's photos and then saying it's mine. Like
That's called Mr. Brainwash. That's who that artist is.
Yeah. But I was just like, what the fuck? And so yeah, I don't believe in all that. I like people being inspired by other people. Even David Bowie was like, all my music is inspired by other people. Like, I understand that, or even if it's similar. But to take a photographic image and just tint it blue and call it your own is like, that doesn't work.
People would say that you would take grotesque things and make them beautiful. That was sort of the tagline for your art in a way.
Yeah, people started saying that, but I didn't realize I was doing that until people told me I was doing that.
Yeah, you're shooting cemeteries and stuff like that.
Well, that's what you do in high school.
Yeah.
That's how you learn how to take photos.
Exactly.
You go to the cemetery and you go to the dark room and you ruin your clothes. Yeah, it's how you do it.
But now you just shoot stuff that inspires you. And when you're traveling, you give your camera with you all the time. And
yeah, I mean, I did a whole show of roadkill once in Times Square. It was a huge pictures of roadkill, and all the money went to animal rights. All went to PETA. But I found something interesting about the expressions on their faces. And Anna was in Georgia riding a motorcycle. There's roadkill everywhere. And I'd tell people in the cast, I'd be like, hey, have you guys seen any good roadkill? They're like, what are you talking about? But that wasn't a series. I was trying to do anything grotesque, but I was shooting a movie in Moscow once, and there was a bear in it, and they tied a goat to a tree. And I'm like, why is the goat there? And it's the bear's lunch. And I'm like, what? It's kind of the Wild West over there anyway. But these blurry images I took of a goat in panic mode, realizing it came out really pretty. So people were like, he takes these things. I didn't know it.
Well, that's just who you are. And there's a lot of you in those photos, by the way.
The 17th of November, 116 Rue de
17th of November.
Yeah. 116 Rue de Turenne, Turenne.
Well, if you're in Paris watching Norman film
think it's
Daryl
in this-
Dixon, The Walking Dead, because I'm sure people show up when you're filming, go check out the art show. By the way, we always do this really fun thing at the end of the show, your top 5 list. So being that you've been to everywhere in the world, Ride is incredible. You go to some of the best spots in every city. I want to ask you your top 5 favorite spots in New York City to eat,
Fuck.
starting with number 5.
I like Raoul's.
Okay, classic by the way. Maybe the best date spot ever.
Oh, is it?
I think so. This is number 4.
Brooklyn Donuts or something like that. Let's not count that one because I can't remember the name.
I don't picture you eating a lot of donuts, but I guess
I have
it's
a history of Balthazar. I still like Balthazar
Amazing.
a whole lot.
Yeah. Number 3. Number 2.
What's the dumpling house on Pell Street, right on the curve?
Is it Joe's Shanghai? No.
No, that's good too, though.
Yeah.
My friend owns it. Fuck, I can't remember the name of it. But my favorite, number 1, is the Peking Duck House.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right around the corner.
I've never been there.
Oh, dude, it's the best.
Okay.
It's like their lines at like Christmas and New Year's are like around the corner. It used to be a bring your own booze place, but not anymore.
So that for people that haven't been to New York, check all those spots out. A couple other quick questions before we go. Your top 5 favorite horror movies of all time.
Jaws, maybe.
Okay.
4, Poltergeist. But the first one, when they come down the stairs and they have to rewind the tape and they see the souls, that freaked me out. The third one is The Shining. The second one is The Exorcist. And the first one, which was my favorite movie as a kid, is The Omen.
Great list, by the way. For those that haven't seen those movies, go out and check them out. And last but not least, Norm, your top 5 favorite cities in the world, being that you've been to so many places on Ride. I know you love Costa Rica, but I don't want to put anything into your head.
It'll show up. Do I have to put these in order?
Well, it's sort of the idea, but you could just read them, Number 5.
San Francisco. I'll put San Francisco.
Even with the crime and the homelessness now, what's going on?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a history in San Francisco. Jello, Bafra, who I love.
Yeah.
4, I'm gonna save the top 2 for these 2. 4, I really like Shanghai. Shanghai was cool. I like Tokyo a lot.
Tokyo's my favorite city in the whole world,
It's
by the
the
way.
best. Yeah.
So is Shanghai 4 and Tokyo 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 would be Paris. 1 would be New York.
Costa Rica is not on
fuck!
there.
I'm taking off Shanghai. I'm replacing it with Nosara.
Because you got a place there. I mean,
I do.
that's
It's
definitely one of.
it's like where elephants go to die.
Yeah.
That's where I'll go to die.
I don't want to tell you your favorite place, but I feel like knowing you, that I feel you've spoken
I'm
about
trying not
this.
to piss anybody off, But yeah.
Well, The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon's on every Sunday night. Anything else we forgot to talk about? The whiskey? I don't know anything
Yeah,
else.
Big Ball had whiskey. No, I don't. Whatever.
Okay.
I can make an amazing martini though. I learned during the pandemic.
That'll be.
I
our
wrote a
next-
novel and learned how to make a martini.
and you had a New York Times bestseller too.
Yeah. I only wrote 1.
Well, that's more than I did.
It was enough. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in as
Yeah,
always.
bro.
You're the best.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love you, my brother.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.